These are the most overrated things about Islam Makhachev. Contrary to unpopular belief, I don't think it's his resume because when you look at all of the GOAT candidates, you can say something negative about each of their resumes, starting with Khabib. Khabib did beat good competition, but he didn't face that many grapplers, or at least they weren't as notable as that of some of the other candidates on the list. On top of that, he doesn't have that many title wins. And I know what people are going to say, title wins aren't the most important thing, which I do agree with. What makes a win notable is the level of competition you face, the time at which you face them. The thing about a title win is you're facing someone who is good enough to get a title shot, meaning it's going to be a high level of competition. Now, looking at Khabib, I think people consider him the GOAT not because of his accolades, but because of his skill. I do believe he's one of the most skilled fighters that have ever stepped foot in the octagon, and that's why he's undefeated. Well, aside from fighting cans, of course. Islam's resume is not overrated in my opinion. Some people will say he had 2 wins over Alexander Volkanovski, a featherweight, and the second one was on short notice. I can understand the second one, but for the first, you're telling me Alexander Volkanovski is not a tougher matchup than a lot of the guys who were in the top 10 at the time. That's a very notable one. I don't think his striking is overrated. He outstruck Dustin Poirier on some occasions. Yes, there was a takedown threat, and without it, perhaps Dustin would have had more success. But to be confident enough to attempt 3 punch combos on Dustin, whom I think is one of the best counter strikers in the game, speaks volumes. And Dustin was looking for the counter on numerous occasions in that fight, but Islam was never there. His distance management was great. He had some counters of his own. His head movement was crisp. His blocking was good. It was so freaking sick. What I do think people overrate about Islam is certain aspects of his grappling. I believe he's the best fighter in the UFC, but when it comes to his takedown accuracy, people think he's just going to take down JDM in the first round and submit him. And while I think that's a possibility, I do feel like people are counting out JDM, acting as if he's a can, even though we've seen him progress as a fighter over the span of his entire career. Especially in recent history, Islam had a takedown accuracy of 41% and 31% in his fights against Alexander Volkanovski 1 and Dustin Poirier. He landed 4 out of the 9 takedowns against Volk and 5 out of 16 takedown attempts against Dustin Poirier. I'm going to refer to the Dustin fight because I watched it recently. Islam would shoot for a takedown, get in the clinch, sometimes he would land some knees, but even when he would try to complete the takedowns and eventually complete them, oftentimes Dustin would get back up immediately without Islam having implemented effective grappling. And yes, he had 10 minutes of control time, but control time doesn't win fights. It's a secondary aspect of the judging criteria. What wins fights is effective grappling, ground and pound, submission attempts. If you are inflicting pain, that is what the judges are going to focus on. It just doesn't make sense to me to watch his fights against Volk and Dustin, then say he's going to submit JDM in the first round. Is it a possibility? Of course, but we just don't have evidence. On top of that, we look at the Arman fight. That's one of his best performances to date, considering how good Arman is. But it was a short notice fight against a debut Arman Tsarukyan. You know which other fights were short notice? His second Volk fight and his Renato Moicano fight. The Volk fight is 1000% short notice because Volk hopped off the couch. Renato, on the other hand, was preparing for Beneil Dariush, so all we can conclude is that he prepared for the wrong fighter. Would he have survived longer if he prepared to defend the Dars, the arm triangle, Kimuras, or whatever the heck Islam has in his arsenal? Maybe, but I highly doubt it. Islam is significantly more skilled than Renato. JDM is a welterweight. And going back to Dustin, I truly believe that JDM has displayed better takedown defense and scrambles than Dustin Poirier. Dustin has faced the better competition, yes, and JDM hasn't been fully tested yet because the best grappler he's faced thus far is Belal Muhammad, whom I think is a very good grappler that people are overlooking. He beat Leon Edwards, who beat Kamaru Usman. I guess it's weird. I know I don't want to use MMA math and all, but I just feel like people really look at Belal like he's some chump, like he's not good, like he doesn't have some of the best double legs in the sport, like he doesn't have some of the best control time. I know that sounds funny, but I truly mean it. He's good at pinning down his opponents. Maybe he doesn't do that much damage all the time, but I still think he's a very good wrestler. And if you can look at his performance against Leon Edwards, Sean Brady, and a few other performances and look at him and say, no, Bilal's not good, I really don't know what to tell you, man. And for JDM to stuff Bilal's takedowns was just really impressive to me because Bilal was able to take down Leon in every single freaking round at will without any difficulty. He won 4 out of the 5 rounds. With JDM, people say Bilal was relying on his boxing heavily, but no. He tried to take down JDM. He just couldn't score it. Bilal is not like Merab where he can shoot for relentless takedowns. It takes a lot of energy, and on top of that, you have to do something with the takedowns, be it land, ground and pound, or attempt submissions. Bilal just didn't think it was worth it, and that's why he didn't continue going for them. And I truly believe that if he did shoot for relentless takedowns, JDM would just intercept it either with the knee, like he did against Gilbert Burns, and just box him before he breaks free. And I know a lot of people are going to bring up JDM's performances against Basel Hafez and Gilbert Burns. Starting with the Hafez fight, I was not that impressed by it because I felt like Hafez was able to take him down and control him for extended periods. And while he didn't do that much damage, it still was a very close fight and JDM won via split decision. Perhaps it shouldn't have been split because he was clearly doing more damage in the boxing exchanges, but it's hard to score these fights sometimes. Moving on to the Gilbert Burns fight, I was shocked by how Gilbert was able to take him down with ease. It wouldn't really do that much damage, didn't secure any submissions, didn't land that much ground and pound. But he was winning the round on almost every judge's scorecard. It was 2-0 going into the third. I had it 2-2 going into the third because I just felt like these judges don't know how to rely on the actual judging criteria. Just taking down someone is not damage, my guy. You have to land ground and pound. You have to attempt submissions. It's only when both the fighters do equal damage that they'll look at stuff like takedowns, aggression, cage control. And that's just not the case with the JDM fight. Oftentimes, he's piecing up his opponents. They take him down, keep him there for a while, and they don't do anything with it. But a key factor people seem to leave out is something that I recently found out. Gilbert Burns broke JDM's arm with a kick. He didn't fracture it, he shattered it. And that perhaps explained why JDM didn't look as good as we expected him to look. And moving on to the Bilal fight, you can clearly see the difference in takedown defense and scrambles between that fight and the Basel Hafez fight. And obviously Bilal is a way better grappler than Basel Hafez, and he probably isn't on as much juice. I believe that both of them are on juice, but that's a story for another day. I forgot to mention that Gilbert broke JDM's arm in the first round, so of course it's going to affect his takedown defense. Now, it would be a different story if you're arguing that Islam can do the same because he also has his own body kicks, which I don't think he'd be able to do. JDM's arm breaking seems more like a freak accident to me as opposed to Gilbert having the best body kicks in the game. Gilbert is not Paulo Costa. If Paulo Costa kicks your arms, yeah, there is a chance that you can break him. So in conclusion, what I'm saying is when you look at JDM's anti-grappling from his Basel Hafez fight all the way up until he faced Bilal Muhammad, I've seen significant improvements. And while you could argue the same for Islam, I just don't think it's fair to say that he would submit JDM in the first round because he couldn't do it to the lesser opponents. Not lesser because they are less skilled, but just considering all of the variables. It was in the lower weight class, and while I do think Dustin Poirier is less skilled than JDM, I can't argue the same for Volk because Volk is a proven fighter. He's one of the greatest of all time. But he was a featherweight. They might have similar reaches, but Volk is significantly shorter. His frame was built to cut down to featherweight as opposed to lightweight. And even though he can fight at lightweight, he'd be giving a lot of advantages to his opponents. And we just can't ignore these things. I believe that JDM is going to beat Islam. And of course, I could be wrong, but I at least try to be rational. And I think it's irrational to say that Islam is going to submit JDM in the first round. But hey, if you think that, that's fine. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.